So these iPhones right here that you see before you, they're still worth it. Let's find out what they are coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Here's 3 iPhones that are still worth it right now. So I get a lot of questions every day about, people saying, which iPhone should I get? Which one's a good upgrade from my old SE? Which a good upgrade from my old 6S? Phones like that, these older legacy devices. And there's a few options. Well, actually a lot of Apple options out there. And don't mind the comments. A lot of people hate Apple are going to come in the comment section saying, nonsense about how they're not innovating and how you could get something so much better. What you don't understand is that a far majority of people that are buying an Apple iPhone, their intentions are set on buying an iPhone. That means that they don't care if your phone transports you to the future. They just want an iPhone. This is the phone that they're looking for, regardless if there's a piece of hardware on the Android side that looks better, has better value. If somebody has made up their mind to buy an iPhone, they're buying an iPhone. So here's the 3 right here that I think are a good value right now still. iPhone 7 Plus, iPhone 8 Plus, and iPhone 10. Right here being pretty good values. Let me explain why in this video, beginning with the iPhone 7 Plus. Now, the first reason to get the iPhone 7 Plus is the price. It's cheaper than both the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 10, and quite a bit so. A couple $100 on the iPhone 10, or a few hundred on the iPhone 10, and a couple hundred on the 8 Plus as well. The second reason is the dual cameras. So having dual cameras here allows you, the first of an iPhone, to give you a telephoto zoom lens, which allows you to punch in on subjects when you are in the camera, and it's super smooth, super fast, gives you some nice results. That also allows you to zoom with this little zoom ring here if you're into that. Now, it also brings you portrait mode to your phone. Now, portrait mode does work pretty well for the 7 Plus, but it's not quite as strong as the newer iPhones. Regardless, it still gives you a nice camera feature. The third reason is the 1080p display. The iPhone XR comes out, it doesn't even have a 1080. Now, I know most people don't care, but I can still see the sharpness difference between a 7 Plus and a 10R. So you do have at least one advantage over a new iPhone if you decide to save yourself some money with the iPhone 7 Plus. The fourth reason is iOS updates. So pretty much all iPhones apply here, but still, getting iOS updates on this 2016 released smartphone means that you're not buying into a phone that's not going to be supported for a while, even if it doesn't look the part with its 18:9 display. It's got an older 16:9 display. So what I'm trying to say here is that you still get value because you will be supported for quite some time. Those people who want a 3D touch and were not willing to give that up, they might want to get this instead of, one of the newer phones out there like the 10R. If you want to save some money and you still want some good features, you might still like the 7 Plus over some of the new iPhones. If you like that standard display, you might still like this display. And lastly, the 7 Plus is still very fast. Apple releases an iPad last year with a processor that came out in a 2016 iPhone. So that just goes to show you that the A10 still is a rocket. So there's really no performance issues here when it comes to using this iPhone. So I don't really have much of an issue in this aspect. And one of the main reasons I find it to be a good value is its performance here for the 7 Plus. It downloads everything fast, bursts photos off quickly, and there's really no lag at all for the 7 Plus. So this is a phone that really shows why people are keeping their iPhones for such a long time. Let's get on to the second phone that I think is still worth it here, regardless of any competition that has come out. If you're looking for an iPhone, the 8 Plus is still a pretty rock solid value if you can deal with its older design. Now, the iPhone 8 Plus, when it came out, there was already phones like the 10 that were announced alongside of it, as well as many Android competitors that do have an updated design. But what the 8 Plus did was it brought people to the modern era of technology, but still like the older iPhone look. It has the glass back and it has a really good battery life here over even the 7 Plus in my experience. So the first reason is the price. The iPhone 8 Plus gives you a pretty good price now. It's actually decreasing, and if you look third party, you're actually getting it for much less than when it initially launched. You can get it in the special edition beautiful product red color, not anymore from Apple, but you can still find them third party. Anyway, the second reason is the processor on here is smoking fast. Like, I mean, the the 7 Plus is fast, but this is the A11 and I don't even have apps to show. I mean, you can't really even stress it here. You going through Instagram or YouTube. It's just super fast with the A11 CPU. And it's so fast, in fact, that the benchmarks on the new 10S and 10S Max are only slightly better than the 8 Plus. So if you buy an 8 Plus, you're still on one of the fastest phones on the market. Even though it has a 10 nanometer chipset, this thing is quick as most modern day Android phones with their brand new chip. So I'm not saying it's faster than them, but I'm saying the 8 Plus really had a smoking fast chip for its time. Now, the next reason the 8 Plus is still worth it is because it has wireless charging. Now, it took Apple forever to bring this, but you can get wireless charging on the 8 Plus, big screen, dual cameras for cheaper than any of the modern day iPhones. So I do like that this has wireless charging on board. The next reason the 8 Plus is worth it is the battery life is ridiculously good. Now, the battery life on most iPhones that are modern is pretty good, but the 8 Plus of the last generation of iPhones was better than the iPhone 10, and I think it's the second best iPhone in terms of battery life next to the 10R, which is the best battery life I've ever seen on an iPhone. So if you're looking for very impressive battery life, and most 8 Plus users will attest to this, it's an incredible device. And lastly, the cameras are very strong on this phone. They give you 4K 60. They did upgrade over the 7 Plus. It's not too noticeable, but pictures do turn out better than the 7 Plus. So overall, if you want a fantastic camera in your smartphone, the iPhone 8 Plus is going to give that to you. It doesn't give you smart HDR, but most people who are buying this are probably upgrading from an older phone, so they probably won't care whatsoever. They'll just enjoy what they're getting here with the 8 Plus. 4K 60 frames per second, no limit on recording. It's an incredible camera, and I've just loved using it. So triple cameras are all the rage today, but still having that telephoto and 4K 60 is a pretty strong offering. And the last one is the iPhone 10. We talked about it a couple weeks ago with the iPhone 10 is back, so we're not going to go on too long about this one, but design definitely makes this phone worth it, maybe even more so than these two, because it at least brings you to the modern era, and you could find this third party now for, you know, way less than what it started at. I'm seeing them in the fives already. Some people are selling these, they want to get rid of their iPhone 10s for the 550. I've seen it as low as. So you can definitely find this thing for a lot cheaper than $1,000 if you wanted to get into a modern looking iPhone. Okay, so the second reason is the display quality on the iPhone 10 is a lot higher than a lot of other phones on the market, and actually higher quality than the iPhone 10R. So if you're looking for a phone with an incredible display and you don't want to go with an LCD that you find on the iPhone 10R, the iPhone 10 should be right in your radar. Very sharp details as well, over 400 pixels per inch. So this still makes this iPhone worth it to me. I really don't notice much of a difference between this, the iPhone 10s, and the 10s Max. It's basically the same display in my experience. Another good reason to buy the iPhone 10, specifically because a lot of people are looking at the 10 and the 10R, is the 3D Touch. Now, this feature is one you don't really care about until you miss it. So like when you get on the 10R, if you did like using 3D Touch, to me, it was a deal breaker in some aspects because I use 3D Touch all the time. The quick shortcuts are awesome to go into things. So once you get a habit of using it, it simply is something you're going to miss on the newer phone. So having 3D Touch and the modern design and not having to pay $1,000 for an entry-level iPhone 10s makes the 10 a very compelling option here and still worth it in my book. So the next one is the ergonomics. The iPhone 10 was super ergonomic in terms of how good it felt in the hand. So it just felt really good with such a big screen versus the iPhone 7 Plus, the iPhone 8 Plus. Both these phones felt huge and they didn't give you that same comfort level. It's actually pretty easy for even people with smaller hands, as long as you got decently long fingers, to reach the top of this display. Reachability does come to the iPhone 10. So overall, I think ergonomically speaking, this is one of the most comfortable iPhones ever released. And the cameras aren't the best on the iPhone 10, but they're better than the 8 Plus, which I just raved about a little bit. And they give you still telephoto like the other two. So all of these phones give you telephoto, but the portrait mode is pretty good on here. Definitely better than the 7 Plus, and 4K 60 again in a nice compact body. So the iPhone 10 offers up some amazing photos, and most people haven't even upgraded if they bought an iPhone 10 because the camera on the 10s and 10s Max were better, but not enough better for people to just get rid of their $1,000 phone last year. So these are old but gold gadgets. We're done here. These phones are not really, you're not missing out on a lot. You know, if you get this phone, the iPhone 10 or the 8 Plus. The 7 Plus is a little far back, so you definitely want to consider the 8 Plus or the 10 if you want something with a lot of power. But a lot of Android phones that are coming out today are just now catching up to the processor in the A11 CPU. So these things are definitely not outdated just yet. They're still worth it to me. What are your thoughts? Do you think they're worth it? Do you think they're not? Comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button for me. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Nick here. I'm out. Be sure to be well and peace.